Emily Gary.
I woke up to a bunch of panicked texts from my boyfriend, David. "Open your email now," he said. I did, and found half a dozen forwarded emails with walls of all caps text repeating things like, "She fucks, you suck," and "slut, slut, slut," hundreds of times. For the next 10 months, it was an all-fronts assault. David would receive calls, messages, emails, and Snapchats claiming in both vague and specific ways that I was cheating on him. Our emails, Facebooks, Instagrams, WhatsApps, and iClouds were hacked. Even in my own home, I didn't feel safe, private, or protected knowing that someone was in all of my devices, monitoring my every move. There would be lulls in the attacks sometimes, but I could never relax, not knowing when the next one would come. The cyberstalker became a terrifying, traumatic, and chaotic presence in our daily lives. The obvious suspect was my ex, Kyle, who I had cheated on with David. But while Kyle could be volatile, could he really be this malicious or tech-savvy? As the attacks continued, my life spiraled. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being punished for my past mistakes, the infidelity that caused me so much guilt and shame. Did I deserve what was happening to me? David was unraveling too. His drinking and drug use escalated. He grew erratic, and he just couldn't be convinced that I wasn't cheating. Compounding the trauma of the attacks was the fact that David believed the messages he received every single time. I would tell him he was like Charlie Brown going for the football and falling down, never learning from his mistakes or catching on to the cruel trick being played on him. I did everything within my means and abilities to figure out who the cyberstalker was definitively, but maybe more importantly, just make it stop. I talked to experts and lawyers, but couldn't get clear answers, and even after I changed my passwords and replaced all of my devices, David would still receive out-of-context, distorted information from my accounts. Then one day, when I was going through the cyber evidence, I came across a couple of things that didn't quite add up, so I decided to contact our mutual friend, Kat, who had actually been present for one of the attacks. "Hey, Kat, can you tell me about that night that you and David were in his car and the cyberstalker called?" "Wait, what night?" she said. "You know, that night that you two were out super late and the cyberstalker called and played that recorded message in the weird TikTok, Instagram voiceover voice, and it just said the name of someone I was supposedly cheating with over and over." She had no idea what I was talking about. I realized then that for 10 months, I had never seen any of the messages that David received other than the original emails. I had never received any messages myself, and the attacks only occurred on the rare night that we spent apart. Instead, David would tell me about the so-called evidence, accuse me, and I would scramble to prove my innocence and comfort him. I followed up on some other stories, and that's when it all fell apart. I discovered lie after lie. The truth was that David was the cyberstalker the whole time, using my fear and anxiety and my empathy to manipulate and control me. The man I thought I knew and loved was a cold and calculating stranger. Even after I cut him out of my life, the negative emotions still reigned. Almost every night I had slept next to a monster who was going through my phone to devise these wild scenarios, and then later would hold me when I would cry about how much it hurt he didn't believe me that I wasn't cheating. How could I ever trust anyone again? I strove to understand him, spending hours, days, months poring over the relationship, auditing my memories, reading our messages, studying personality disorders, believing that if I could identify his motivations and warning signs, then maybe I would come up with the answers that I needed to move on. But it turns out I had it backwards. That as much as I wanted to understand why he did what he did, I learned that true healing would come not from understanding him, but from understanding myself. And that in learning and allowing myself to open up, be vulnerable, and share my story with others, would I begin to receive the love and support that I hadn't even known how to ask for, and to finally begin to trust again.